In the Bible, we see this moment in Philippians 2 when Paul says, chapter 2, verse 3, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Put other people above yourselves. When I was a kid, I spent thousands of hours at this baseball park called Beachmont Baseball, and my dad was on the board and was a coach. And one of the things that he would do is at the end of the night, we were usually the last two people here to leave. And what he would do is we would start down there and we'd take care of all the fields and rake them and put the dirt in and do all the things you need to do to get a field ready for the next day. And then we would walk down this area, this grassy area, and we'd come out here, we'd go behind the big field to, it's funny now coming back as an adult because this place seemed so scary to me. This area seemed like you were in the middle of the boonies and it was really frightening. And we would come to these big gray boxes. And those gray boxes, if you know anything about electricity, are where all of the field lights were controlled. And my dad would come out here and flip these big switches to turn off all the field lights. And they used to have locks on them, they may still, where you had to have keys, and it was a big deal. And the reason it was a big deal is because that's actually really dangerous. Like if you open that box and start touching wires you shouldn't be touching, somebody dies, or at least they can. And I remember one time asking my dad, why don't you let me turn off the lights? He would bring me out here because, man, when the lights went off, it was pitch black. I mean, we walked back several times and like the only comfort I had was I was next to my dad. It was pretty scary out here. And I would ask him, why don't you let me turn the lights off? And he would go, oh, you're too young. You've got a whole life to live. If anybody's dying turning the lights off tonight, it's gonna be me. And he was half kidding because nobody was gonna die turning the lights off. But he did take that really seriously, where he didn't want to put me in danger at my young age. And the way he would frame it is, I've already lived a lot of years, you haven't lived nearly as many, you need to be safe, I'll take the risk. And I learned a lesson. I learned a lesson from my dad doing that hundreds of times. And it was, sometimes we need to step in and take the risk, and we need to count others as more important than ourselves. And we need to be willing to put ourselves in harm's way. And isn't that exactly what Jesus did? I mean, it's just such a picture of the love of Christ for us, that he stepped in, he took the fall, he took all the risk, he took all the sin on our behalf so that we could walk in newness and freshness of life. And he took all of that on and he took the lead. That idea, the idea that we're going to consider others more significant than ourselves, and we're going to take the risk, and we're going to protect and shield some of our loved ones from unnecessary risk, that's the idea I want to land on as we consider this week's mission. So Dad, normally taking the risk for our family or elevating them above ourselves is not some kind of grandiose, Mel Gibson Braveheart moment where we're charging into battle and we're gonna surely die, but we're going to be remembered forever as no. Usually, those little things of considering others above ourselves or taking the risk that we don't want people in our family to have to undergo are really small. And they're daily, they're little things. It could be something as small as, this week, could you let your kids have the last cookie? And let them have the best seat on the couch for the movie. And you go, what's this got to do with Philippians 2:3? Well, you're counting others as more significant than yourselves. Or is there something that you do need to go risk? Is it financial? Is it relational? Is it something you need to step into so that your children don't have to step into that same thing? You need to create a boundary with your grandparents or your mother-in-law because it's just toxic and there's problems with the kids, and you need to step in, you need to shield them from this troublesome situation or this danger. What I'm trying to encourage you to do is this week, either take one of those risks for your family so that your children don't have to, or do something that puts your children above you, even if it's a small thing like turning out the lights or giving them the best seat in the house. Dad, do this because you're not a father on accident. So go be a father on purpose.